Good evening and welcome to this playoff clinched edition of the Cover One Buffalo podcast. Aaron Quinn, my partner in crime, how are you feeling?
I'm a little buzzed, both on beer and the playoffs. A 10 win,
Woo!
10 win Buffalo Bills with a chance for more are heading to the playoffs, man. I can't believe it. What a time to be alive. My 11 win prediction's not looking too crazy.
No, I think it's probably likely with the two games we got left. It's probably the probable outcome. I'm nervous at only 10. I picked 10 and 6.
Unbelievable, man. I can't believe we're here. I'm gonna enjoy every minute of it. But it's a quick turnaround week, so we got to talk about this game, and then we got to get right back to it because this is a big one, and there's a lot of talk this week about going for the East and getting this win, and you have your chance here. So it's a big week, but what a game, man. A lot to kind of digest here and a huge defensive battle.
Yeah. Before we get too far into it, want to thank everybody in the chat tonight. Our Cover One premium subscribers are in here with full force. Got a great crew tonight here, and exciting to be able to kind of enjoy this with them. Was an awesome time in the Slack channel tonight. It was a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. I won't lie. There were some harsh words shared, but we came into it together and enjoyed it. Really excited. Tonight's show is sponsored by our presenting sponsor, Uncle Jumbo's. Really awesome time to enjoy some of their wonderful libations this evening. Their country lemon, their berry good, their American vodka, the bluesberry lemonade. Wonderful things to celebrate with an evening like this. We'll get into them a little bit more later, but it was an awesome time tonight. It was an emotional game. It was really stressful. It was fun. I don't like these late night games, but I'm wide awake right now and wired. And just overall, I thought it was pretty much exactly what most people envisioned here. It was a defensive battle, both teams throwing haymakers back and forth from a defensive standpoint. And it really came down to which team could cash in on the other team's turnovers better.
Yeah, no, I first of all agree with you. Loved the 1:00 slot. I hated everything about today. I had so much anxiety. I'm pretty sure I cleaned my house twice. It was not a good day for me, anxiety wise, and it just built up with the game as the game went on too. And I'm the same as you right now. I'm just totally strung out, wide awake. I'm probably not going to bed till 2:30. So I hate these games. As they get more success, we got to get used to it. So I'm willing to take that sacrifice on for 10 years of dominant success and being on Sunday night all the time. But yeah, as far as the game goes, I think everything I listened to, even outside of our podcast and our projections, were that this was going to be a close game. This was going to be a defensive game. Really, whatever quarterback made the least amount of mistakes, not whatever quarterback won it. And really, that's what we saw. I think, I know we'll start out with the offensive side of the ball. I think ultimately, though, I was really disappointed in Josh Allen. He still had his 2 touchdowns, but I wanted him to respond differently to that Ravens game and a defense that wasn't going to be bringing as much pressure. And they didn't. You didn't see as much pressure this week, but Josh was he was throwing a little hot. He put some balls out there. He put some balls into the ground. Just kind of didn't want to see that on the national stage in the biggest game, to seal the playoff victory. But they did enough to get the win, so I'm not going to rip on them too hard.
Yeah, we'll get into the specific breakdowns by position, but overall, it kind of was what we expected. Both of us predicted a Bills win. Both of us thought that they were going to be in this. I felt pretty strongly about it. I got the metrics. I understood how good Pittsburgh's defense was, and it showed tonight. That's a stellar defense. TJ Watt is a monster. That is a legit defensive player of the year candidate. They had us relatively contained, but it was also similar to what we said. We were able to move the ball. Devin Singletary looked good, 21 carries for 87 yards. We did have a 70-yard touchdown drive. There were plays to be made out there, and it was something that, 17 points isn't a ton, but that's as much as that Steelers team has given up all season. And the biggest part I felt confident in was that Duck Hodges-led offense was not going to score on this defense. This was not the same defense they had been playing during this 7 out of 8 winning streak run they had been on, and that I felt confident they were going to be able to hone in. And they did stress me out a little bit more than what I needed, but they ultimately came home here with, an overall crazy box score of a game, and coming in with a game where you have 4 sacks and 5 turnovers on the team who leads the NFL in sacks and turnovers. That's what we needed today.
Yeah, no, and there was moments in that game where I was pretty impressed with Hodges, considering the situation that he was put in to come into prime time on a game like that. Not a lot of quarterbacks hit deep on the Buffalo Bills, and he hit a few big shots on the Bills and played with confidence against a team that was doing quite a bit of stuff that he hasn't seen yet. They were bringing some different blitzes that we haven't seen that much, even from the Bills, bringing Hyde on that blitz. We haven't seen him come in a whole lot this year. So they were getting some pressure, getting after him. He didn't seem to waver. I think he did enough to keep his team in the game, and that's who he's been so far. But, I mean, it came down to turnovers this game. It's funny because we talk a lot about toxic differential, and we counted that as tied for this game. It took a couple swings in this game, which is something I haven't really seen that much in Bills games, where usually one team kind of gets out to the lead, and they kind of have kept it this year. This one took, I think, 3 swings in the game and then ended up tied. So, by almost every metric, this was a super close game. I think exactly what everybody expected. And the Bills come out on top, but they didn't make it easy on me, man. Twice I had to retweet how hard this team makes it on me. And they did it again. You know, Pittsburgh, it was the same situation the Bills were in last week. They had a chance to win it on the 20-something yard line. And the Bills defense is just too stingy, didn't allow it. So a pretty great way to get into the playoffs at this point in the season. And now we get 2 weeks of just sitting back. I don't have to stress like I did all day and deal with that again. I'm good, man. I don't want to lose to the Patriots, but do what you got to do. You know what I mean? They took care of business today. And that I think is really good for this franchise, you know, just overall getting into the playoffs with season still remaining is something I never thought I would come on a show and say.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who isn't aware, this is a situation where the Bills have clinched their playoff spot the earliest in the season in 26 years. It was back in the mid-90s runs where they had a chance to actually clinch a win in your in game on their own early. Every other time they'd made it, they either needed help or it was backing in at the last minute, or it needed a combination of them winning and the other right teams losing. So being able to do it by themselves, they also 100% clinch the 5th seed now. No matter what, they are the 5th seed. So we are going to play the 4th seeded team right now, looking very likely like the AFC South champs and likely like the Houston Texans. So that's what we can watch for. We get to root for, seeding scenarios and trying to pick our path and who we want to play and being able to kind of mess with teams along those sides. We get to be, careful with anybody who's dinged up via injury. We could be very conservative from that standpoint, get guys healthy. And that's a fun way to go into this where we get to be strategic and be able to use things the way that we want. So let's kind of dive in and look a little bit into the game specifics here. I know we both touched on it that this probably wasn't Josh's best game, and it wasn't going to be. When you're playing the hottest defense in the NFL, he's not going to have his best game. And it was a stereotypical Josh Allen game. He had some highs, he had some lows, he had a couple lasers that he got in there, and he had quite a few throws that he missed. Overall, we saw a line of 13 of 25, 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Only gave up the 1 sack against a defense like Pittsburgh. That's a positive. Came out with 28 yards rushing and a rushing touchdown. So another game with 1 rushing, 1 passing. So it was probably a solid game, but definitely some lowlights in there as well.
Yeah, and I said it here before we went on live when we kind of talk about who we're going to do for Gruntled, Disgruntled, and I think Josh made enough plays that if some other guys didn't make a lot of plays in this game, I think he could be in the consideration for that. But he also made a number of bad throws that were there. And in a tight game, yes, the results ended up being in the Bills' favor. But if they weren't in the Bills' favor, we're going back and really picking out those throws. And that's the big difference in the NFL of, between a win and a loss. But he still had a lot of those throws. And you said it is a good, great defense right now, playing very hot. I didn't expect him to come in and light the world on fire like he did against Dallas, but I did expect maybe a little cleaner effort in such a big game in this moment. But this is proof that this was a playoff atmosphere tonight. Nobody should kid themselves. Pittsburgh's a team that can still very well make it to the playoffs. They're a team that has had a lot of experience in the playoffs, and that crowd has had a lot of experience. That was a playoff atmosphere, and they did enough to win a game. And that proves to me that I think that they can go on the road anywhere in this playoffs and beat at least in their first round game. So that was really good. And I think that kind of confidence is good for Josh. And I'm not sure he's going to see as aggressive of a defense as we've seen here last week, this week, and even next week going forward here for the next few weeks. So that is a good sign for Bills fans too, because he's definitely struggling against these aggressive defenses. And I don't know what they've got to do to figure it out. I'm going to lean on Eric a little bit for that, but they've got to figure out something before, if they want to make a real run in the playoffs, they've got to get Josh going against aggressive defenses that are applying pressure.
Oh, absolutely. And, one thing that came up, and it's been in the chat here. I've been a huge Brian Daboll apologist all season, explaining times where it wasn't as bad as what it looked. I was pretty upset tonight. There were some rough times where I didn't understand. I just couldn't wrap my brain around the logic of what he was calling. Some of the outside runs to Gore. That one series where it was 3 straight runs, it wasn't actually 3 straight runs. The second one was a running back pass that I actually think would have been awesome, and everyone would have kind of lost their minds if we had to hit that with Frank Gore throwing the touchdown there. But there were some really rough ones. The one play I will give him credit for, and I'm bringing it up because I want to give Eric credit, he had been talking all week about the importance of isolating Mark Barron in third down coverage and how poor he's been and what a good job Pittsburgh usually does of kind of disguising and hiding him. That final play on the 70-yard touchdown drive where they threw it to Tyler Kroft, where as they're getting ready to do it, Collinsworth and Al Michaels are talking about how they're probably going to take it pretty easy here. I'd expect to see another run. They'll just take the field goal to go up 13-10. That exact play where they went 3 wide receivers to the left side, Tyler Kroft to the right, that was Brian Daboll doing his homework, knowing they could isolate Mark Barron in coverage and that he's terrible in coverage, specifically on third down, and be able to get the touchdown. And I don't think he had a great game, Daboll overall, but that's an example of where we're not going to paint with a broad brush here. And although he had some really, really frustrating calls, I thought that was a really, really brilliant call. And I also want to shout out that Eric's a genius. It's crazy how he picks those things out as the week goes and it comes up in the critical moment.
Oh yeah, no, he totally dialed that up. I think it's been like every week with Brian Daboll. There's some good and there's some bad. I don't know that it's as good as some say, and I don't know that it's ever as bad as people think either.
We shouldn't fire him yesterday.
Yeah, no, and I didn't love the series where they went backwards after the interception, after the Trey White interception. They go a little bit backwards, but at the same time, that series, I tweeted out, just don't F this up. And they didn't. It wasn't ideal, but they didn't turn the ball over. They had been turning the ball over to that point. So I understand the conservative play in a close game like that. That made a huge difference in this game, getting those 3 points. So I think that was the plan kind of all along. I know you play for touchdowns, but the way they went with that conservative approach, they knew this game was close enough to, hey, let's get this thing tied up and then let's get our defense to keep getting us the ball back. And it ended up working. So I'm not going to knock him too hard for that. There's definitely stuff to knock him for, though, and that is included in that. But he had a pretty good day against this defense. I think he dialed up some things that were going to work against this defense. And again, it came down to execution. We saw it a number of times. And that's on Josh. That's on the offensive line. It's on kind of everybody. And hopefully they continue to clean that up. But, I mean, it's hard to pinpoint whose fault these mistakes are against the defense like this. I was super impressed with this young defense. I don't know the scouting department at the Steelers, whatever they've got going on. I know Bills have done a good job, but I want some of what they got going on. They just continue to refresh that defense with new guys all the time. And they were an impressive unit, man. And I don't want to face them again. That's a team that could go on a, I don't think Duck Hodges is going to bring them very far, but that's a team like the Buffalo Bills that defense can lock you up in the playoffs, and that's not a fun position to be in. So it was a tough defense. They did it. They put up enough points to win the game. I mean, that's really all you can ask for. The defense didn't score, even though Trey got close. So the offense did enough. It wasn't pretty, but they got the ball in the end zone a couple times.
Yeah, and I think, on the rest of the offense here, I don't know that there was anything spectacular. I think that, Devin Singletary was another example. Had some really nifty runs. His hesitation and cutbacks are ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he put the ball on the ground twice, and he had 2 short catches that probably weren't in great position, and then he had an ugly drop. And there's been a couple up and downs there. I thought John Brown was pretty good tonight. He had one where you could probably accuse him of some alligator arms early, where Joe Hayden was coming at him, and that he still made an effort at the ball, and I don't think it was a egregious example, but he didn't exactly lay out for it. But he overall had a really nice game. Hit one of the deep balls down the sideline here. I think facing this Steelers defense, the offensive line actually had a great game. Like, I'll go beyond good to give up 1 sack and then to have 130 yards rushing, and that Josh wasn't exactly getting beat up. I mean, he did have 5 quarterback hits, but it wasn't horrible. For what this is coming in, that we're playing the defense with the most sacks in the NFL, the most turnovers in the NFL, to turn that around to be, 1 sack and 130 yards rushing, that's thumbs up for me from an offensive line standpoint, for at least where the expectation was.
Yeah, no, I think the offensive line did a nice job. I do think that. There's one thing I'm starting to get concerned with. Mitch Morse ending up right in Josh Allen's chest on plays is a little bit concerning. We saw it for years with Eric Wood. I know everyone loved Eric Wood, but he, especially towards the end of his career, had a tough time anchoring guys in pass protection. It's hard. And Mitch Morse isn't the biggest guy in the league, and especially on his base, he doesn't have like huge legs or anything like that. So it's going to be hard for him against that guy like Casey Hayward. So I'm going to cut him some slack today. That's a tough defensive line to go up, and you're going to lose some of those battles, and we notice them more when he loses them versus all the ones that he wins. But no, I thought they had a really nice day. Brown, I thought, had a very nice day, and I agree with you that, yes, he missed that one, alligator arms it, but I give that one a little bit more of a pass because he was about to get lit up. There was 3 guys, and one of those guys was hitting him. So I know you want him to catch that one. I do too. There is some blame on him for that. He was about to get his clock run, more so than, say, Beasley, who, had an opportunity. Josh put that ball up where he had an opportunity to make that catch, and that ball just went right off his hands. And to me, that was unacceptable. I tweeted about it, got a little bit of flack. But, no, I thought Brown had a nice game. He came back. He got open when he needed to. He that one long ball that he had, he fought for that ball. That's something that people have said the Bills don't have. They don't have a guy that can fight for the ball in the air. They need a bigger receiver. And I kind of argued against that a little bit this week, that no, they don't need a bigger guy necessarily. I think they have the guys with the talent. Those guys just need to make the plays. And they haven't been given a lot of opportunities to. Josh Allen doesn't throw a lot of those 50-50 balls, so we haven't seen whether or not they can. And I think that was the knock, was these guys can't do it. I don't know that was ever true, or if they just weren't getting the opportunities. Not even the Galladays of the world don't win all of those 50-50 balls. It's about the amount of opportunities they get to make those plays. And the Bills just haven't done that. So it was good to see John Brown make that play, because I think if you're going to make a run in the playoffs, you're going to have to get some of those kind of bullshit 50-50 ones that go your way once in a while. So it's good to know we have a guy that can do it. So I thought Brown had a nice day too. And yeah, nobody really flashed on the offense. I don't think Good Morning Football is going to be talking about the Bills' offensive studs, all week here leading up to the Patriots game.
No, and I think that's, again, it's kind of what we expected, but they still made enough plays to be able to cash in here. And before we flip over to the defense, now is a time where we like to be able to step back and kind of talk about our presenting sponsor, Uncle Jumbo's, and the exciting things that they have here. And when you're considering which of their delightful drinks you're going to be enjoying with the Uncle Jumbo's Blueberry Lemonade and their multiple kinds of vodka, you need to do so responsibly. So we like to talk about the Uncle Jumbo's responsible play of the game. And when we talked about it pre-show, we both immediately went to the same play. Yeah. And I thought it was spot on. You're going back there, you're in an early spot where it's, 0-0. The Bills get a ridiculous shanked punt from you, and I talked about it. Joe Barry is a good punter.
Yeah,
he gets a weird punt that falls out of his hand.
I didn't think he would be the one to be. He's super consistent. We talked about how consistent. I didn't think he'd be the one to put them in a bad position like that. Thank God.
Yeah, it was weird. So he drops one off of his hand. Weird. He gets the tip of the ball. It goes 22 yards and gets down to the 40-yard line. The Bills get that ball. They get a sack. They have an incompletion. They scramble up the field for 12 yards. So now we're at 4th and 6. And at that point, my mind immediately went to, okay, 53-yard field goal. That's not the end of the world. And then I look up, and they're on the field. And that's where both of us went to it, that this was, Sean McDermott is leaning more on analytics. They're looking at the conversion win rate, your chances of converting on 4th and 6 versus a 53-yarder, the importance of cashing in when you have positive field position, and just love the fact that they went for it on 4th down and that did directly turn into a touchdown where they could have settled for a field goal. And just I love the fact that both of us were in the same mindset when that came up.
Yeah, and it really is amazing because at that point in the game, I didn't trust the offense. No matter what the analytics are telling me, if I was looking at the offensive performance it was early in the game. The offensive performance didn't get better, but it was early in the game. They hadn't done anything to prove to me that they could pick up a 4th and what was it, 4th and 6?
6, yeah.
4th and 6. So huge pickup. Just also showed not only the relying on analytics and knowing the situational football in the game, but what this game was. I think he knew in that you're not going to get a lot of opportunities where the field's flipped like that. And we have to make the most out of this opportunity. And not, even if they were only going to go for 3, let's get a better 3. Let's get in position, let's get another first down and see if we can get a little bit closer for a 3. It ended up being 7. So yeah, super responsible play. And McDermott has been knocked for some of these coaching decisions, how he manages these types of situations up to his point in his coaching tenure. He's done all the culture things right. He's done all the rah-rah stuff right. Some of the in-game decisions have been laughed at on Twitter and people saying, what are you doing? This one was a super great one, and it made all the difference in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at, one of the elements that we don't necessarily measure directly in toxic differential, but another one that comes up frequently is points off turnovers. And the Bills scored 10 points off their turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And although they turned the ball over twice, Pittsburgh got 0
Nothing.
points off those 2 turnovers. And that kind of thing matters when your defense can step up. And the one of it was probably some good fortune where they got into some weird, fancy pants stuff trying to run, a quarterback motion then into a wildcat read option and then fumbled the ball up in the air directly to us. So I had made a joke at that point that, can you imagine if Brian Daboll did that? Brian Daboll took the ball out of Josh's hands and put him in motion and then ran a Frank Gore, Devin Singletary wildcat read option and fumbled the ball up into the air. People would have been burning his example of him in effigy. It would have been insane.
Oh yeah. But again, that's something I'm not going to knock there. OCI, it didn't work, but if that's the kind of play that works, they're talking about it all week long, because in a close game like this, it's the kind of plays that make all the difference. And you see coaches go to some of that stuff you haven't seen a lot, and they try to catch you off guard, because this defense isn't giving you're going to score on a defense like ours was playing tonight. And even, really the way the Steelers are, you're going to have to go for it on some 4th downs. You're going to have to come up with a little bit of trickery, do some things to throw them off. Luckily for us, it didn't work out and negated I think that particular fumble negated one of their turnovers in a really good field position. Is that right? That one negated the turnover?
Yeah, that was one where they were down there. We got it at the 9-yard line.
Yeah. So, and that was a huge swing as well, right up there with the punt. So, really, really responsible play by Sean McDermott, though, to know the situation they were in early and get those points on the board.
Yeah, and again, I thought it was great. Both of us were in the same mindset for the Uncle Jumbo's responsible play of the day. So appreciate our keynote sponsor here and be able to enjoy some of their wonderful items here. We now have 2 stress-free weeks to be able to make up some new cocktails and concoctions. So let's flip it over to the defense, and they were everything that we could have wanted in this game. Just a dominant performance. You mentioned earlier that Duck Hodges is an aggressive guy who's going to throw the ball down the field, and he did hit on 3 of those long passes and a touchdown. But he also threw 4 interceptions and took 4 sacks, and this defense controlled the game, and they did what they needed to do. Just across the board, multiple sacks. Jordan Phillips just ringing up the cash register over and over again. Shaq Lawson with a sack. Trent Murphy with a sack. Interceptions going all around the horn. Trey getting 2, Jordan Poyer having the one at the end to nearly seal the game, and then Levi Wallace literally sealing the game. Just couldn't really ask for all that much more on the defensive side.
Yeah, there weren't a whole lot of mistakes. Taryn got burnt on that one deep ball. Tough to guard that kind of out of the slot. That's a lot of space to work with. You're going to give up some of that leverage on the outside there, so I don't mind it. Don't like to see it, but still those kind of plays are going to happen. But all I really want to talk about all day and all week is Tre'Davious White. He is an unbelievable football player. He doesn't get the attention of the other top cornerbacks in the league because of the Bills aren't on the primetime slot. I think there maybe are 2-3 cornerbacks that are technically, if you're looking at box score, having a better season than him. But I could think you could go up and put film to film and say Trey White's playing the best cornerback in the league. I think that's a totally reasonable, responsible argument to have. And it's going to be a real I'm going to have a real issue on Twitter if Trey White is not an all-pro this year. Yeah. The season that he's put up, he's done it in the stats. It's not just, hey, guys aren't throwing to him and he's not getting stats. He's getting opportunities, getting his hands on the ball. He's making big plays. He's doing it all. He's all over the field. And we are lucky to sit back and watch Trey White, to have let Stephon Gilmore go, and he's playing as fantastic as he's playing. If it weren't for the way Trey White was playing, I'd be so pissed about that every single Sunday.
Yeah.
But then Trey White comes in and makes me feel way better about it, because I don't feel like we lost because of that.
Yeah, the man who was drafted directly to replace him has replaced him. And that's no shot at Stephon Gilmore. Stephon Gilmore has blossomed.
He's an all-pro right now.
Oh, yeah. Since going to the greatest defensive mind in NFL history, he has unlocked even more talent in a talented player. And Trey White is playing neck and neck with him. That's just unbelievable that we're seeing that. And I was really happy for him to get that attention here. He got some kind of goofy positive publicity with the play sheet blowing on the field. Everybody loved him there. He's made some nice plays. In the announcements, when it came out early, he announced it, Trey White Goalie Academy. Yeah. And then to have 2 game-saving plays at critical moments. I
almost took that one back too, man.
Well, in hindsight,
so fast.
If Kevin Johnson realizes that lineman's there, he was just running along with Trey. If he kind of peels back a little bit and just kind of gets in the way, Trey scores there, and we don't settle for a field goal. They actually could have ended up mattering at one point.
Yeah. No, he had a fantastic day. He's much more of an athlete, I think, than even everyone realizes, because you see the short, quick speed, but he was a punt returner at LSU. Like, if he gets his hands on the ball and there's some open field, he can return that thing. So it was great to see for him. I hope he gets the accolades he deserves. And then even after the game, when they interviewed him and he talked about what makes this defense special, and he got into really the culture and process kind of talk about, hey, we love each other, we play for each other, it's the time we spend off the field and all that stuff. And in my mind, it was just racking up dollar symbols for Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott, because he checks all the boxes. Dude, he's living up to his draft hype. He's living up to his draft position. He's playing week in and week out. He's your best player. The team MVP is Tre'Davious White, in my opinion. And he's going to get a nice fat check. And I am ready. I know you've done the spot track things, and I'm the unreasonable money one. Give him all the dollars. Honestly, break it. Break the record. I don't care. Make him the highest paid cornerback in the league. Get it done.
It makes sense. For anybody who isn't aware, that the show that Aaron's talking about was a show I had a chance to do with Mike Giannitti of SpotTrack.com, who is the founder of that and from Buffalo. It just happens to be. And that's an evergreen show. So you want to go back and find that. That's a good off-season show, kind of looking at where we stand. And we talked about the fact that there's a lot of outside elements that touch into why Trey White's that kind of player. One, he was the first draft pick of this regime. 2, he's come in and bought in every way. He's doing the Trey White Goalie Academy. He's the family that was there on the Thanksgiving game, where that was the family that they showed, wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving with his wife and kids. He's out there doing all the right things, buying in. He plays every single game. He's out there putting himself out there, being active in the community, being active in the locker room, being a leader. And playing at an all-pro level. That's the exact kind of guy that you want to reassure that, hey, it's okay to come to Buffalo. If you come to Buffalo and you buy in and you ball out, we will pay you. And that's the kind of guy that you're not looking to haggle and try to save $1 million a season because you're trying to get some kind of good deal that isn't really going to matter in the grand scheme of things. Whether we pay him $16.5 million or $18 million a season doesn't matter. Right. Make him the highest paid cornerback in the league on principle, because you want people to know that if you come to Buffalo and play great, we're going to take care of you. And he's earned that money. So I'm excited to see it. And I do think that that's exactly where Mike's head was at as well, that we're looking at probably something of the 4 years, 72 million that we're going to tack on to the 1 year, 5th year extension. So it's going to end up being the highest paid corner in the league, and he deserves every penny of it.
Yeah, and another conversation we really have to start having, and I think he had next to Trey and really Tremaine Edmunds, there was a lot of nice dominance on the defensive side of the ball, but Shaq Lawson is playing the best along the defensive line, in my opinion. He's outplaying Jerry Hughes, I think, by a decent margin at this point this year. And I think it's going to be a hard sell to fans if you let Shaq Lawson walk at this point. I think you really have to try to make an extension work. This isn't a Trey White situation where he's done this for every year he's been here and continued to get better incrementally and playing at an all-pro level. But all of a sudden, whether it's for the money and he's going to die off or what, I don't know, man. He's making a real good case. And Sean McDermott said it last week that, and so did Leslie Frazier, that he brings the juice along that defensive line. And that, to me, stood out. They want to bring this guy back. And if he keeps playing the way he's playing, man, it's going to cost them more and more every single week to bring him back. And it could get to the point where it's uncomfortable. But he's been fantastic. He was fantastic today. I counted at least one of the sacks that Jordan Phillips had, or I think it was Jordan Phillips had it.
It
was caused by Shaq.
100%.
Moved that pocket, got Hodges going, bouncing around the pocket, and that's what led to the sack. And he's done that a few times this year, man. I just really love how he's playing. And I was hard on him 2 years ago. I was like, Shaq needs to, shit or get off the pot kind of, and he's taken a giant dump. He's done it. So he's earning his money.
It's a very, very vivid analogy. Shaq Lawson had a phenomenal game today. He credited with 1 sack, 2 additional tackles for a loss, 2 more quarterback hits, and he absolutely did get one of Jordan Phillips' sacks directly for him with a bull rush that flushed him over into Jordan. And I'm torn. I am more so in favor of re-signing Shaq than I was before. I'm not 100%. I'm maybe just over 50-50. There's still a piece of me that gets nervous about a guy who plays phenomenal in a contract year. And I think in general, if you never pay guys who play great in contract years, you're going to win more than you lose. But I'm okay with that. I'll trust them if they think that he's earned that and wants to be back here and that they're going to be able to find a number that makes sense. I'm more open to it now than I was 5-6 weeks ago because he continues to just play well, and that's a guy that you want to have here. So, and the same thing, there's a number that I'd welcome Jordan Phillips back at. I think both of them are potentially pricing themselves out of our price range now that Jordan Phillips is at 9 sacks and probably darn close to the NFL lead. From
something's got to give. One of the, you're not going to bring them all back.
I agree. Both of them are probably unlikely, but there's a number that they're going to do, and that's how I expect Bean to handle this. He's going to have a number that he thinks both of them are worth. He's going to offer it to them. He's going to welcome them back at that number, and if somebody else throws a ridiculous number at them, he's going to wish them all the best, and he's going to say, hey, God bless you. We're really happy. We love having you a part of us. We're not going to root for you when you play us, but we're going to be rooting for you and hope you continue to do well. And I think that's an okay, healthy approach, and that I won't be sad if we find that number for both of them, either or both, to be able to find their way back because they're playing great and they have a solid hand in why we're on this winning streak and why we're in this position or in the clinching the playoffs and won the games that we have.
Yeah, and a guy that, let's kind of move along the defense a little bit. I think a guy that doesn't get talked about enough in the national media, and his growth this year has just blown me away, is our 21-year-old middle linebacker. Tremaine Edmunds had another fantastic game. He was a huge difference in this game.
Every time he blitzes, it's a problem.
And they don't do it a lot, but it's a major problem
there.
And so even if he's not doing it, showing that A-gap blitz look is the quarterback knows Tremaine Edmunds is right there. You see this massive athletic freak coming, and you know he can get to you in a split second. It's causing problems. He can cover. He's just playing a smarter player. You can see his growth happening right in front of us. It's astounding. I don't think the average NFL fan realizes what that type of progression in your development early on, and only being 21 years old at this position, that ceiling that he has. Like most guys come in the league, they have a ceiling, and that ceiling kind of stays there, and it's whether or not they hit it. His ceiling's continuing to rise right in front of our eyes. It's unbelievable. It's a story that doesn't get talked about enough. He's kind of gets lost in the overall, the defense plays well, and nobody really, and Trey's been a part of that. The defense plays well, so he doesn't get talked about a lot, but the 2 Treys got to start getting talked about, man, because they're playing phenomenal football. And if we're going to make a run, it's going to be a lot of the stuff they have been doing all year that's going to lead this run for the Bills in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and more guys. Matt Milano had a nice game tonight in
Milano
coverage
played
out
well,
there,
yeah.
solid tackling. Ed Oliver didn't record a sack or a tackle for a loss, but he was in there breaking the pocket and forcing him out on several of those. I think 2 of the interceptions were on Tremaine Edmunds' blitzes that he
Mhm.
didn't get home for. He didn't end up getting a sack for, but had those pressures there, flushed him out, made him step up awkwardly and throw those balls up where they were able to get them in the end zone. So just an overall great defensive play. I think that you mentioned it. Taron Johnson got lit up a couple times there, but was, like you said, in kind of a difficult position with James Washington going deep out of the slot. That's a tough spot to cover, but overall, it was everything you could ask for, and it was why many of us felt confident today. And that I know we felt a little awkward a couple times that maybe the offense wasn't going to be able to cash in on that, but ultimately we put up the points that we needed. They ended up not scoring on terribly short fields because of turnovers. A lot of it was because of being able to move the ball. They converted on the one for the punt. They were able to go the other time 70 yards on a full field to be able to get down there, and that's not something Pittsburgh had given up in 8 weeks to have that long of a scoring drive. So just that kind of thing, I think, showed some promise in some certain areas. I think you could have some questions about the management at the end of the half, some of the management at the end of the game. I think both of those had some questionable decision making, a lack of aggressiveness at the end of the first half. You get the ball with a minute 53 and 3 timeouts. I'd like to see some effort to try to score there. I get it. And I actually brought it up that I talked with a couple guys. Some people know the Michael Leone, the two hats, one Mike guy who does a lot of the kind of data work and is a Bills fan. That, hey, if we're going to praise him for converting on fourth down, knowing when to go for it on 2-point conversions, is it possible that their analytics show when you get the ball at the 9-yard line, it's more likely you're going to turn it over and give it back to the team, and that they thought sitting on it via run to just run out the clock was the net positive win? And I don't know. I'm throwing stuff against the wall because I was frustrated that they didn't go for it. But
Yeah.
when they doubled down on that at the end of the game, where 2 straight drives where they got really conservative, they could have cashed the game away twice where they had the ball and just run, Josh scramble, run, Josh scramble. Those are things that I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit different approach to look at it. And the one thing that gives me solace is that McDermott and this team has shown the willingness to be open to change and open to evolution. So I'm hopeful that we see that here going forward.
Yeah, in the end of the game, I didn't mind as much as they're at half because they're getting the ball back. You're going to give them the ball, and I feel like, and I'm going to have to go back and kind of look through it. I feel like the Bills' defense, they struggle the most with either scripted or coming out of the half plays by the other offense. So I was worried that they're going to come down and score to start the half. So let's try to get points. But I think that people take that a little bit too far. Of like, how I think you manage a situation like that is you come out and maybe you run the ball and then maybe you take a shot for, something. I'm not saying take a deep ball shot. And I think that's where a lot of people like, let's just spread it 5 wide and just throw it deep and see what happens. And I don't think you do that. I think you maybe run a couple plays, see if you can pick up a first down. If you pick up a first down, let's get it in full
Yes.
drive and try to get a field goal. And I think that's where there's confusion and this binary thought of you either run it out conservatively or you line them up and let's Hail Mary this thing a few times to see what happens.
Yeah, give me a play action on first down to check it out.
Try a couple things, see if you can get a flow going. If you don't complete the pass or it doesn't go the way you want, go back to running the ball out. Don't try to force it. I think that's the hand I would play in that situation. But like you said, it's one thing to read the analytics real time and get those stats and make those decisions. It's a split-second decision the coaches have to make because people have to get the play in and go. I think it's something they're going to take back this week. Look at those in-game decisions, situational football decisions, get with the analytics guys and say, all right, well, this was the stats that we got in game. We went against them here. What did we do wrong? What should we be doing in these situations to capitalize? Or did we do the right thing? Did we get out of half? And that is statistically the right thing. And we're just going to stick to that. So you have to trust that the analytics they're getting are the right ones. And if they're not, the nice thing about data is they have a new data set to work with, and then they're going to add that into the data. And I agree with you that they're going to take that new data set, look at it on film, and continue to get better so that the next situation that arises, they have more better data to go off of.
One last phase to touch on here before we do our end of show awards here. A sentence that I did not expect to say to you is the Bills had the better special teams today.
Yeah.
They were better in the return game. They made more kicks without missing any, and they punted slightly less bad. It
Honestly,
wasn't
the punting was
phenomenal.
there was one bad punt. I didn't like the line drive
Yeah,
punt,
correct.
and then the one bounce back. But I think people were mad on that one that bounced back a little bit. Got a bad bounce. We're lucky Corey got that off.
Oh yeah.
When
Yeah, they were
you
bringing the house.
yeah, when you go back and watch that, I was just happy he got that ball off and it didn't go 12 yards.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
know fans didn't like that punt and won't. This is another one of the problems I have with a net punt that doesn't show up statistically that they brought the house and we're just lucky he got the ball off. There's no asterisk in that thing, but I thought he had one line drive punt and that's one I'll pin on him. But other than that, I thought the whole unit played consistent, and it's weird because I was listening to the pregame with our boy Nate
yeah.
Geary, and I messaged him because they weren't talking about special teams as a difference in these teams. They were talking, these teams are identical, and I DM'd him. I was like, not on special teams, they're not, and that could be a problem. Turns out
Yeah.
it wasn't a problem at all. It was actually a benefit to us because they screwed up a punt that we talked about, and that turned into 7. So unbelievable that it wasn't the Bills' special teams that screwed up this game, close game like this.
Yeah, Andre Roberts was a shoestring away from breaking one for a touchdown. He had a gorgeous lane. That one's probably going to look even more painful on the all-22.
I could see his eyes light up in the broadcast. You're like, he saw it.
It was ready. In even another small piece, Bajorquez put 3 of their punts inside the 20, and Barry put none inside our 20. So just some small things that we expected to be not a game tilting advantage, but a genuine material advantage for the Steelers, and that for the fact that that didn't occur was pretty beneficial. So just something I didn't expect for us to talk about today was that I think the Bills had the better special teams fairly across the board. The one area that was there, if you look at the overall of this game, we ran more plays, we earned more yards. We were much better in the rushing game. We had better time of possession. We won the turnover differential. We were tied in toxic differential. Had some ugly penalties. We had quite a few more penalties here, but overall, a disciplined, solid game that I think they genuinely earned this victory, and we're in a positive position to be able to take that. So pretty much everything we could have hoped for in a game like this.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't care how they got this done. We've said it a lot. Just get that 10th win. Now we're playing with house money. They're in the playoffs. This could be a very dangerous team. All the stuff that we talked about today, this was a playoff atmosphere against a team that's good enough to be in the playoffs, with a defense that's good enough to be in the playoffs. They're probably not going to play a better defense in the first round. Of the playoffs than we saw today and that we saw last week. So there's that. That's a good feeling that the offense probably can't do a whole lot worse than they've done the last 2 weeks at the next level here. So a lot of things to be excited about. If they can play consistently, even if it is conservative, this team could be a real one of those dangerous teams that nobody's going to want to play. People are going to put on the defensive film the last couple of weeks of the season here, and they're going to be terrified to go up against this defense in the next rounds here in the playoffs.
Absolutely. It's for good reason. Yeah. They are holding legitimate teams who are scoring points to their season lows. And you go through the last handful of games, 9 against the Redskins, even in a loss, 19 to the Browns, 20 for the Dolphins, 3 to the Broncos, 15 to the Cowboys, with one of those being in garbage time, 24 to the Ravens, who were at, on a run of 40-point, onslaughts, and now 10 to the Steelers. And that, this defense is putting us in any game. And I guarantee there is no one who wants to play us in the playoffs. So there's plenty of things teams would rather see, because out of anything that you're not sure what's going to show up with bad weather, on the road, different things like that, defense travels, and this defense is ready to go.
Yep.
Let's kind of get ready to close things out here.
Yeah, come on.
Go into a couple things. I think I caught you on the bets tonight.
You did. Yeah.
I got the one for the rushing yards. We kept the Steelers under 100 yards rushing, and Duck Hodges did end up going over the 175 passing yards. And then you got me on the Bills offensive line, holding up a little bit better than I expected with under 3.5 sacks. So I think I got you 2-1 and got a +3, so that puts me up 4 points.
It puts you up 5 points.
5
I think
points.
you're 61-56. Yeah, you 2 weeks in a row now. Every time we bet these 3 bets, now you're 6-3. So that I'm not going to do any 3 bets for the rest of the season here.
We need at least 4. We need at least 4 so we can tie.
No, but honestly, I won the only one that like materially mattered to me in the game, which was that Josh Allen didn't take a lot of sacks and get hit a whole lot. I did not want to see him on the ground all night long. So I'm happy to lose those to you today, because I got the one that mattered the most to me was my precious Josh not getting too many hits, and because it's a quick turnaround this next week, man. We're right back at it for a Saturday game, which is super weird in the NFL, but it can be a quick turnaround for both teams here, and it looked like pretty much everybody came out of that healthy. Today, so pretty good. I don't hate losing to you, but you might want to start picking out your charity here as the season wraps up.
We won't count. We play this one game of the week. We're looking to go 1-0 each week. I'm
trying to reverse jinxing.
It's a growth mindset. Let's close it out with our awards of the game, and I think that we were pretty spot on here. The disgruntled, I think that we were both in the same area here. Our passing game wasn't great. I lean towards Cole Beasley. I don't think everything was on him. We mentioned Taron Johnson earlier. I think he deserved a little negative attention, but Cole caught one of his 6 targets, and I put 2 or 3 of those squarely on him. A couple of them, Josh certainly had a hand in, but my disgruntled for the game was Cole Beasley.
Yeah, that's not a terrible one. I definitely think that 1 third down was on him big time in a big way. I think the other one that he laid out for is a toss-up. I think he should have had that. There was probably a hold on that play that should have gotten called, not even put us in that situation. But yeah, no, they brought Cole Beasley in to be the guy that is a reliable target, a security blanket target for Allen. And if he's not going to be that, that's frustrating. It doesn't take away from the great season he's had. And
would have been a tough catch. Would have been a tough catch, but you need to make it.
Yeah, and we need him to make that kind of thing going forward here. If they're going to win some games, some of these guys got to come down with tough catches. So that's a good one. I put it on Allen, and even though earlier I said if it wasn't for Trey White or Tremaine Edmunds or some of these other guys that we'll talk about as the gruntled of the game, he could have been that, but he also made as many plays, negative plays, as he made positive plays in this game. And that's kind of the Josh Allen experience. This is a very typical Josh Allen experience game. While he did enough plays to get them in the game and win the game, he also made enough plays to keep the Steelers in the game, and it probably shouldn't have been as close as it was if Josh Allen played a little bit better. So I want to see better out of him. We got one more week of a very aggressive defense here coming up, and then I think he gets a little bit of a break against some of these, but at some point he's got to figure it out, and I thought that he might be able to figure out a little bit better here this week, and didn't quite live up to what I wanted for him.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's certainly something that it's fun when we're having trouble picking that out on this side. And on the positive side, it was easy. I think there's a lot of guys who deserve praise today, a lot of guys who had some solid games across the defense, but we both talked about it earlier. Tre'Davious White wins this running away.
Easy.
Critical turnovers and critical spots, some big time stepping up, making some key tackles. Trey White deserves this with a bullet.
Yeah, no, it's not even close. I think he set himself up to be an All-Pro this year with this performance on the main stage. I think a lot of people are going to cast their vote for him after seeing this performance, and I couldn't be happier for him. He was all the difference in the game today. And for him, with his personality and what he's done here in Buffalo and the lack of attention he's got, it couldn't happen to a better guy. I'm super happy for the way he performed today, and hopefully he'll start to catch on around the league here.
Absolutely. It's getting late here tonight. We're going to close things out. If you're listening to us, give us a rating, give us a review, help us out, tell some people about the show, tell us what you think about it. Check out our presenting sponsor, Uncle Jumbo's. We appreciate all their partnership here. I appreciate all of our guys in the premium Slack channel. You guys have been fantastic. All the chat tonight. You guys are very supportive. Aaron, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Aaron Quinn 716 cooking up steaks with my boy Greg. I think that added to the win tonight was a double stakes here. Me and you.
Clearly, you have to do your 111th. Yeah. You guys can find me at Greg Thompson, GregTompsett. Really appreciate everybody tonight. It's been a great time. The Bills are going to the playoffs. You have been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.